Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Qualified Podcast. With me today, I have Molly, and Molly's going to be talking about her cleaning service, Valley Cleaners. Molly, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, let's jump into a little bit of background stuff on you. Where were you born? Where'd you grow up? And where's the business located?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Eugene, Oregon. Business is right here in the heart of Eugene. We do a service about 45-minute radius outside of the Eugene Springfield area. Originally, when I was looking at service-based businesses a few years ago, had been working with Airbnb on a local level, photographing listings and helping, local listings get updated and more optimized. And as I was meeting with hosts, I was realizing that there was a gap with trying to find services to flip short-term rentals really quickly within a 4-hour window. And that's typically not a window where you're having a lot of cleaning happening, especially big turnovers. And so when I, a year later came across service-based businesses and was looking at starting one, I knew that cleaning was the market that I was trying to go after here locally.
So safe to say, growing up as a kid, there was no intention of running a cleaning service or anything in that sort of nature.
No, absolutely not. I went to school for teaching, so I was teaching for a while and then kind of followed the marketing route. So I work in marketing now, and then cleaning has been a great business for me to still kind of continue my entrepreneurship outside of my current job. And it's been really good it's been a great outlet for me to continue having those passions while also obviously providing a really good second income.
Absolutely. Anybody in your family, business owners, or growing up, whether it's mom or dad, aunt, uncle, somebody in that sort. So you could learn from or kind of get the ropes on anything, whether it's a service business or something else.
No, nobody in my family owns their own business. My dad has always been very in the financial space. Whether or not that was his career or not, that's been a really big interest and passion for his. And so that definitely was instilled in my brother and I, just a lot of those characteristics and traits growing up. But no, nobody had a business, but obviously have been very supportive of what I'm doing and definitely have gotten a lot of advice going along the way.
So when you started Valley Cleaners, when do you remember month and year?
Yeah, it was March of 23.
Okay.
We were
So
fully up. That's when I filed my LLC, and then our first full month was April.
what, I mean, you kind of already mentioned, was there any like deeper inspiration besides Airbnb and, seeing there was kind of a miss like with the space and the faster turnover? Was there anything else that you're like, okay, more so let's jump in and dive into this? Was there, you know, COVID? Was that kind of did that help you push into starting this?
Sure. While I had that kind of seed in my head of that being a gap, I didn't instantly jump into, oh, I should start a cleaning company and fulfill that. I feel like that came almost a year and a half later. I started seeing people post online of service-based businesses and, the lack of large funds to start a business. So that was definitely intriguing for me. And as soon as I saw that cleaning was a really good example of that, I almost reverted back to the conversations I had with those Airbnb hosts and was like, that's a really good niche for me to go after because I already had a lot of those contacts from scheduling shoots and following up with them and even reshooting their property after they've done remodels. So I've had a good bank of contacts that I knew I could instantly reach out to and get started. I would say short-term rentals is the smallest out of what we service. Most is now just reoccurring residential customers, but getting started with those Airbnb contacts that I had originally was definitely a good boost to our business at the start.
So when you I don't know if you mentioned it, you said you already had the contacts with the Airbnb clients. This so you started the cleaning service and then you got into the marketing and got the Airbnbs, or were you like, did you already know some of these Airbnb owners before even starting the cleaning service?
I knew them probably about a year and a half prior,
Okay. And what would that was from?
working with Airbnb.
So you knew them personally from other stuff. Gotcha. Do you remember when you started, what financially, how much did you invest to get off the ground? Because every state's different with licensing and, insurances and stuff like that. So do you remember how much you
Yeah,
invested?
it was definitely less than $400. I mean, I started with what I needed, the bare minimum, and figured if this is something that still interests me after I get going, then I would be investing more month by month, obviously. Yeah, initially it was just the hundred and some dollar LLC filing, opening a bank account, getting business insurance, booking Koala, and a Google Voice phone number. And then I was almost kind of off to the races after that.
Was there any coaching program that helped you along the way, or have you just, bootstrapped this by yourself using Google and YouTube or the Facebook group that Book and Koala has?
Yeah, the Facebook group was definitely helpful, especially learning the ins and outs of booking Koala itself and how to update forms and all of the little things that then play together. And I certainly watched a lot of different service-based business owners that are now putting their content out on YouTube and getting different ideas for marketing. While I work in marketing, it's a little different than a cleaning-based service business, and so getting different ideas of how to contact the local market and get our name out there. So I never signed up for a full-on coaching program, but I definitely relied on resources online and people that were currently going through it and at least seemed to be running a successful business on their own.
It's a lot more helpful, obviously, having these coaching programs. Not getting one, seeing that is awesome that you've been able to have the success that you have without relying on, paying somebody to get you the shortcut, the
Mhm.
quick route to it. So that's definitely awesome to see. And it can be done. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to pay a coach or, any of these courses. It is helpful for sure, but it definitely
Absolutely.
can be done without. And it's personally, if it were me, it's nice to be able to say, like, hey, I did this fully on my own with no help and no shortcut with the coaching. Have you experienced any like huge challenge that you've had to overcome in what's it, almost over 2.5 years now since you started, right? In March of 23. What's one of those biggest challenges that or hurdles you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I would say it was roughly 6 to 9 months in. I had a month that, I'm proud to say I've never been in the negative. We've always made money, whether it was a very, very small amount or not. But I had a month where, 2 cleaners quit, 1 just upped and moved the day she was supposed to clean. So you're left with, a variety of customers that now aren't getting services or you're getting the phone calls that you're having to provide a lot of customer service to and making sure that they're not completely pissed off with you and, making sure that I'm doing what I can to still either service them or make the situation better for them, refer them to another local cleaner if I can, if it comes down to that, just to make sure that they're getting taken care of while also trying to balance, okay, well, I got through today. How am I going to handle tomorrow? Right. And trying to find people to now join my team on a short notice while also making sure that they're qualified enough and going through that process. So that was the first definitely large hurdle that I faced. And there was a moment where I was like, I can give up now and I'm happy. I did it on my own. I proved I can be successful. I love the idea, but this is a lot, right? And those like self-doubt start to creep in. So that was definitely a 2 to 3 week period where I just was taking it day by day because I didn't really have a choice.
And 6 to 9 months, that's coming up on the holiday season. And depending on where you are, it could slow down significantly or it could be a little bit busier. But yeah, that must have been super tough for you to lose what, three cleaners in a matter
Yeah.
of a week. And now
And
you're
I only had 5
scrambling.
to begin with at the time, so it was trying to rearrange everybody's schedules, asking them if they wanted to work later. Luckily, I had people that were motivated during the holiday season to do so, but it was a lot, I won't lie.
And competition in your area, how much is there? Like, and how are you different from them?
Yeah, for just basic home cleaning services, I am one of the only companies that provides those offerings. I would say the people that are fighting against me are just those independent contractors, right? Just like the people that I'm hiring out who are single moms or people who don't have kids in the house anymore and they're just wanting something to do, which make great employees for me whenever I've brought them on. But the cleaning companies in my area, the only thing that they offer outside of what we do are your commercial grade carpet cleaning. So we do have a local partner that we work with, which has been really nice, which allows us to provide discounts to our customers for those services. But if somebody's looking for a true carpet clean, then we just won't be the company for them.
And in your area in Oregon, is there, you mentioned that you got started with Airbnb owners. I'm not familiar with the areas. Are there a lot of Airbnbs? And what's your busy season look?
Yeah, so we are right on the heart of the University of Oregon's campus. Busy season is definitely when college football rolls around, and I would say June for graduate variety of things. Graduation, we are Tracktown USA, so we have Hayward Field and all of the Olympic qualifying track and field events that go on are in June, beginning of July. So I would say that for short-term rentals, those are our very busy seasons, especially on campus.
Have you been able to, or do you have to hire more in in like that month, 2 month span and then back burner them in the months after? Or are you able to kind of flow them right into a schedule and keep them on?
Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately the goal, right? Is whenever I do bring somebody on that while it may take a little bit to build out a full-time schedule, that I have some work to be providing them. So if I do look to bring somebody additional on, those Airbnb hot windows are a great way to do so because I'm able to give them instant work and then hopefully, like you mentioned, flow right into an easier schedule. What I've tried to do with my business is almost position it where I have my core set of cleaners, but I also have one or two on call, right? They're not fully relying on me as an income, but they're willing to pick up extra work as it comes about, whether they're cleaners themselves and what I provide them is extra or not during those Airbnb windows that are really popular and we have a very high turnover. I'm able to rely on them. And then also my core group. We typically don't work the weekends. I try to really practice that work life balance. I don't want them working past 5 or 6 or on the weekends if they don't have to. Whether I might be on my phone or not during those windows, I don't want them to have to always be. So they know and they're always willing to, pick up those extra shifts on the weekends as well when somebody leaves on a Sunday or has a really late checkout on a Friday.
Working with Airbnb is hard, especially with that turnaround time
Mhm.
and just in the cleaning space in general or any service business and obviously business as overall. Tough decisions have to be made as a business owner. Do you recall one specific event where you had to make a super tough call, whether it was for the positive or a negative?
Yeah, on the negative side, just because it sticks out more in my head more than anything else, I don't like having to fire people or let people go. That's not what I love doing, and obviously never want to have to. But I had somebody that was with us for a while, honestly, and always had great positive feedback from the cleaners that either worked with her or the customers that had her. But she ended up in a month, I was giving 3, 4 refunds for a variety of things, which was very out of the usual. Talked with her, worked for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, then almost reverted back to whatever was going on and ultimately had to let her go because I couldn't continue to lose money. As much as I liked her as a person and I knew that she had it in her, something was just now lacking and I couldn't have that continue on my team. So that was a really, really bummer for me. I really liked her, but you almost can't let emotions get in the way. And I sometimes had a hard time doing that. And then I'm in the middle of something right now with a local studio that we clean 3 times a week. They're a great revenue source for us, but it's how late can I have them be on payments and have that be acceptable? Trying to win that battle with them and still keep them on, obviously, because they have a need and I'm able to provide it and I love the paycheck. But no, I can't be waiting around for 2 weeks for my cleaners to get paid from it.
Definitely not. Time management. How do you prioritize that as the business owner and, making sure everything gets done in the day that you need to do it?
It's hard, and sometimes I'm not always great at it, but looking at booking qualia, seeing what I have on the calendar for the day is the first thing I do before I even log on to work. Luckily, I do work from home, so I'm able to take those phone calls and answer emails and stuff a lot easier as they come in. When I first started this business, I was working at a prior job, and I was almost having to step into conference rooms to take calls as they're coming because I couldn't really answer it at my desk. So I would say it's a lot easier now with my current job and managing things as they come in. While I want to grow this company as large as I can, I also know that I do have a passion for what I'm currently doing as well in my, I would say, real job. And as long as I have that, I need to keep Valley Cleaners at a manageable level. I can't get too in over my head without, then it affecting different areas of my life. So as long as I have my marketing job and Valley Cleaners, it'll kind of stay the core that it is and just growing that out as much as I can without bringing on, 10, 15 more cleaners.
So you have a 9 to 5 on top of running the business.
I do, yes,
And you've had a 9 to 5 essentially
the
since
whole time.
the whole time and before that.
Yep.
So that's incredibly hard to now prioritize your time and manage a 9 to 5 and your own business.
Yeah.
Has there been a time where you're like, don't know if I can keep going because it's too much to run?
Yeah, there's definitely weeks where it's a lot. I'd say the holiday season last year when I was in my previous job was very challenging just because of the phone calls coming in. Text messages were one thing because I could keep a tab open on the computer and answer them as they came in. But the phone calls were a lot, which was great, obviously. It just meant more business, but it required me to be very creative with how I was getting out and answering them. And as much as I wanted to keep Valley Cleaners and it was successful and I didn't want to just stop because it yeah, it was getting to a point where it was getting more challenging during the day to manage both. Now it's at a point where it's a lot easier, a lot of that stress has gone away from, oh, can I answer a phone call right now? Obviously, if I'm in a meeting for work or something like that, then it just has to wait. And I normally just text somebody, hey, on the other line, like give me 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, there definitely was a time where it became a lot.
Do you have any office help? Like, do you have a virtual assistant helping you, or is it just you?
It's just me.
Okay. So your leadership style now with the cleaners, what does that look like?
Very open lines of communication, right? Whatever I'm expecting from them, I have to be able to provide myself. So it's, having ease of communication, being able to access me when they have questions. I try to do my very best to work around schedules. A lot of people that I am bringing on obviously have families outside of this. So one of my cleaners had a son in summer school and could only start at 8:30 instead of 8 because she took him to school, right? So it's those situations where yeah, most of the time I can work around that. When I'm booking customers on your schedule, I don't give them an 8 a.m. start time as an option, right? It's 8:30, 8:45. And but that's, gaining a lot of respect with that cleaner as well that I'm, able to provide that flexibility. And if I wasn't, then she was going to go somewhere else. So unless there are those boundaries where, you can't be totally walked over, and I've set those and put those in place. But there does come a time where, if you really like a cleaner and they do a really, really good job for you, and it's just a matter of little scheduling that I'm able to accommodate, right, then I want to be able to provide that. Or if somebody has a family situation going on, not holding it over their head that they have to miss work for a couple of days.
It's huge, right? And building that rapport with your cleaners gives you, I don't want to say more flexibility. It gives them a little bit of more flexibility, but it helps you not get into that scenario that you did in the first 6 to 9 months of running the business, right? So, in I guess still touching on that point, what's your approach to handling setbacks? Because that was a huge setback losing three cleaners in a week span right before the holidays. I don't want to say failures because it's only a failure if you don't learn from it and move on. You clearly have. So what's the approach now to a setback like that and going forward, seeing like, hey, if there's another setback, this is how I'll handle it.
Yeah, I would say, you're working with people at the end of the day. So you can only anticipate so much, and there's definitely always going to be surprises. I learned from that situation that I can't get too frustrated when it happens, because then it's almost like my head's a little more frantic on what I'm going to do, but you just have to take it step by step and day by day depending on, right, the situation at hand. There's only so much I could do the first few hours, but I need to make sure that I did it very well or it would affect everything else to follow. So just making sure that, I take a deep breath, I acknowledge, yes, this sucks and it's okay to like be frustrated, but I can't let that, impact the rest of my week as I'm communicating with customers that are upset and frustrated, right? Like I still have to be that source of helpfulness and support. And then as much as I may be frustrated, I can't be putting that on other cleaners who are picking up shifts or on the customer themselves, right? So making sure that I still have that customer focused mindset and how can I make it the best for them if it's a situation like that. Financially, I feel like we have a lot of things in place that, if we had a slow month, we're fine. But when you're dealing with people, there's only so much you can do.
We're not robots, right? It's humans working with other humans, so you can't expect a robot type of 100% of effort 100% of the time, right? There's going to be times where it's just not there, and having that rapport, like we said earlier, is massively beneficial to you and to them. Again, business owner working a 9 to 5 job full time. You mentioned to me right before we got on that you recently got married. How are you maintaining a healthy work life balance with juggling all these things?
Yeah, luckily he's very supportive of everything I'm doing and often jokes that, "Oh, I bring in more money than he does every month," and, a stay-at-home dad is completely fine with him. But no, luckily I do have a very supportive partner that from the get-go was, nothing but excited for what I had going on and the passion that I wanted to pursue. So I would say that that's definitely a great start, right? If I didn't have him and didn't have that support, it would make this 100 times harder. But like I mentioned earlier, I try to keep a very consistent schedule with my cleaners where I'm not getting those phone calls at 8 o'clock at night that they're still out of service and something happened or a water line broke or the fridge isn't working or things like that. So that allows me to have time at the end of the night to really prioritize us and put work aside. With that being said, my cleaning phone number is on my personal phone. It's just looped and routed that way. So I do have situations come up where somebody calls out sick or texts me a question about the clean the next day, and obviously those come up and it's easy to address. It takes all of a few seconds or a couple minutes. And so he's obviously supportive of that. I can't just completely ignore those phone calls, but as long as I try to keep the cleaning schedule the way that it is, it doesn't really have a large impact on our weekends unless those situations arise where it's all of a sudden, okay, we have a really big problem that we have to address.
Massive fire that needs to be put out immediately situation. What's the motivation? What's keeping you like that drive, maintaining your drive to keep going with respect to running the Valley Cleaners?
Yeah, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. While I was teaching, I was doing a lot of photography work on the side, which naturally led into, those clients needing help with social media and a website. And so I really self-taught a lot of those skills. And when a marketing job came available, I took it. And I was like, you know what? If marketing is what I'm meant to do and it's what I'm excited and passionate about, I'll ride that wave as long as I can, knowing that teaching is something I can always fall back on. And luckily, I've been able to follow this now for the last few years, and it's landed me at a really good spot, a great company, a good job. But I still have that itch to be doing something on my own, and Valley Cleaners certainly fulfills that. And, it helped pay for our wedding, and it's allowing us to save more and go on vacations with friends that maybe we wouldn't have been able to do beforehand. And allowing, I wouldn't say obviously complete financial freedom, but it is allowing us to, also look at our house and we want to redo the backyard and allowing us to do so while still being in our mid 20s.
Short-term goals and long-term vision. The 9 to 5 is completely different, right? Like you said, if you need to fall back on teaching or something else, you have that. But how do you balance that? Like what's the short-term goal that you have versus the long end goal when it comes to the cleaning service?
Yeah, short term, We just kind of opened up a new territory north of us. We've had a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of inquiry about our services up in that area, but I almost had to have a cleaner available all day long to go up there, just with drive time and everything else. So short term, I would love to see that continue to be successful. It's also in another college town about 40 minutes north of us. So a lot of apartments are what we're servicing now, but still kind of building that reoccurring customer base on the residential side and still tapping into some of the smaller commercial spaces that we're slowly dipping our feet into. So that would be my short-term goal. Long-term, I've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom as long as that's possible. We do want to have a family in the next few years, and my 9 to 5 job will, subside after that, and I'm totally okay with that. But that entrepreneurial spirit is never going to leave me. And so having Valley Cleaners at a manageable level and something that I can work on and still provide for my family is something that I will want to keep as long as I can.
Any important lessons that have come across your desk in the last 2.5 years? Obviously, again, that one major thing that you had in the first year, stepping stone and a lesson learned. But I guess, what have you taken from that experience, and what's the lesson there that you could say, okay, that's exactly what I learned from that.
Yeah, I would like to think before that happened that I recognized that it was a people business, but I would say that really ingrained it in me that every conversation I'm approaching or situation that happens is a people business, whether it's a change from Valley Cleaners or a change from our customer, right? Everybody wants the same thing at the end of the day. And so, how can we get there together? If a cleaner misses something in the house that maybe was very small and minute, but important to the customer at the end of the day, right? How are we solving that? If the customer's wanting to change days because they have an issue that's occurred, and we currently don't have the schedule to allow for it, right? How do we accommodate that? So you're dealing with people like I've mentioned, and so while yes, I run a business and yes, there's going to be boundaries and guidelines that I have to hold myself to in order to not be completely walked over and not put my cleaners in that situation either. You're dealing with people. And so making sure that I approach it that way. And at the end of the day, we do all want the same goal. And so how can we get there together?
Decision making and problem solving is probably the biggest thing a business owner can do. What's your approach to handling that every day?
I would say learning the problem in its fullest. When things occur, you often only get one side of the story, whether that's coming from the cleaner, coming from the customer. And so it's always checking in with the other side, right? If I hear something from a cleaner, I want to check in with the customer, hear their point of view, how can we solve it? If we get a call back from a customer, complaining about the service, I obviously want to hear them out and gather as much information from them as I can, but I also want to go back to the cleaner and ask what happened because they may often have a different side of that story. And so taking both of those and then making a decision that way, I can only do what I can with the information that I have. So as long as I'm trying to gather as much as I can, then I can attack and approach that situation in the best way possible that's going to ultimately serve my business and serve the customer.
Going towards the hiring side, um, you have did you go the contractor route or the employee route?
Contractor.
Contractors. And how many do you have currently, whether full-time or even part-time? 7. And what has been the main focus for hiring? Like, where do you do most of your hiring?
In the beginning, I was looking in those local Facebook groups of people looking for work, and I have 2 cleaners that came from that have been with me from the beginning and have been fantastic. Outside of that, I have used Indeed. I feel like the pool of applicants I get are, while much larger and I have to sort through them, I am able to obviously cater the job description a little bit easier, and so hopefully the people that are applying, right, are the people that I'm looking for. So a lot of interviews and going through that process, I tailor a lot of my questions into how they would handle situations, right? So I can see how they would problem solve because situations come up, right? Yes, put in a lot of work to get as much information from a customer as I can up front, but you only know so much until you get into a space, right? So how do they handle situations when things arise? Obviously, their cleaning experience, I call any references that they do have. I would say I'm quicker to hire and trusting that they're doing the job and that how they've interviewed and the information that they've shared with me is accurate. And I have learned from past experiences that when it's time to fire somebody, it's time to fire somebody, as much as I may hate that conversation.
Hardest thing any business owner can do is letting somebody go. But again, it is a business at the end of the day, and you have to do what's right for you and your business. Again, as much as it does suck letting somebody go, there are times where it needs to happen. What does your hiring process look like from start to finish?
Yeah, I have put on an onboarding guide, so I'm able to walk through the provider with everything that they may need, setting up their booking quala platform, setting their hours, going through the list of supplies that they'll need, walk through a typical customer as well, so they kind of know what to expect. If there's any schedules that are currently put on their books, then walking through, oh, this is a reoccurring customer of ours. This is typically what they expect, or you have a lot of move out cleans coming up, this is typically what we see, right? And just trying to set them up the best we can so that that way they go into it not being as surprised as they may be.
What's a giant red flag when you get an application and you're just automatically like, okay, next?
Yeah, I don't want to say no cleaning experience because obviously somebody can step into that role very well. But with our nature, I do really like to see that to some extent, whether it was years ago or not. Um, that is obviously going to give them some kind of leg up initially. A red flag outside of that, I try to read personality the best I can, which is hard to do in an interview, right? And you don't want to completely judge somebody that way. But if they, can't answer a question or can't hold a conversation, right? They are the ones interacting with the customers when they get into their home. So what do I want Valley Cleaners to be represented as? And if you can't look somebody in the eye when they're, just having a conversation with you, then, that's a red flag. We want to be able to send somebody into somebody's home that is going to be trustworthy and on time and, hold the values that we hold as a company.
What about the flip side? What's something that you see on an application that you're like almost wanting to hire them on the spot?
Yeah, I mean, cleaning experience is a great one. If they've been working at another local company or they were a head housekeeper for a hotel here around town, obviously those are major green flags. But I also have had interviews where they don't have the most cleaning experience or any at all, but I can tell by their personality they're passionate about it, or maybe they helped grandparents when they were living at home cleaning their space, and just the way they talk about the job. Cleaning can be looked at as a lesser than job or career. And the people that are very excited and passionate about it, who don't have that mindset, are obviously going to carry that into every house or apartment or unit that they go into. And so that mindset and attitude and aptitude to have a career, whether it may be cleaning or not, is very attractive.
Are you always hiring, or because the two biggest things in this industry is hiring and marketing. Having
Mhm.
enough jobs to fill the cleaner schedules and having enough cleaners to make sure that you have the jobs, right? So are you always hiring or are you pausing and then hiring when needed?
I'm always on the lookout. If something crosses my desk, I definitely will always entertain it. But like you mentioned, there is that fine balance. I don't want to bring somebody on and have them have one customer a week because then they're not going to stay, right? So I push and pause a little bit. There are times that come up where, the cleaners that have near full schedules and a customer inquires about wanting to have a clean on that day. There are times where my on-call cleaners can't cover it. So then what am I doing? Am I turning away the business? Don't really want to do that. So it's finding that balance like you mentioned. I am almost always hiring or always looking, but I'm not consistently onboarding.
Safe to say you're not always in the Facebook groups or you're not always running an Indeed application. But if a referral from one of your other cleaners comes in, you're definitely going to take the opportunity to at least start them as a backup.
Yeah, and we've done that in the past. My one of the cleaners that has been with me for nearly a year, had a friend who kind of went through some situations, and her house actually burned down, and she was looking for work because her current employer had fired her because she wasn't able to show up to work given circumstances. And I looked at that situation, one, just as a person wanting to help, right? Whatever I can do to support this mom and her son, I want to do. So any job I was able to throw her way, she was very gladly accepting of. Is she still with us? No, didn't have the need anymore, but for a few months did have to get back up on her feet. And so it was nice for me, one, to have another cleaner right on backup, but obviously just as a human, nice to provide those opportunities as well.
Now, talking about the flip side to the hiring, the marketing. What are you currently doing for marketing?
A lot of your traditional advertising. Yes, I run some social media ads and I have seen some good growth on that. Thumbtack's been a really big driver for us, especially at the beginning. I would say out of all pay for lead platforms, that's been a really good one for us. A lot of yard signs, really looking into getting to radio. My 9 to 5 job is in marketing, and I've seen radio work for a lot of people. And kind of knowing what that cost is up front and what it takes to run something in our area. Really want to test that out. We do have a few amount of services that are on radio, not necessarily cleaning specific, but in general. So looking into that, but door hangers, yard signs, word of mouth, we have a referral program. So all of that's been good drivers for us.
Do you know off the top of your head one successful marketing campaign that you had that was like, wow, brought you from one level to the next?
Acknowledge it. Excuse me. I wouldn't say one campaign has really drove a ton of growth that provided, almost a whole nother cleaner schedule. But every time we do a holiday clean, it's always a free giveaway. We're running another one this year. That's a really good way to get our current customer base as well. Excuse me. I don't want to start talking. All right. So every time that we run a holiday giveaway, that's a really good way for our current customer base as well as getting new customers on board. Anytime you give away a free service for somebody who is genuinely interested in having a clean in their space, we've had some recurring customers come from that as well. And then just our referral program. I would say that luckily the cleaners that we have obviously provide really great services. And so having those consumers who are receiving our services pass along to their friends and family that we do provide a good service, we've seen some really good growth just organically from that as well.
Leveraging data in your decision making. Obviously, you do marketing for your 9 to 5. So you know how important data is for running any campaign. So how are you leveraging the data you have in your cleaning service?
Yeah, it's looking at, obviously what we spend and what we're getting out of it. There are times where it's, maybe we got a customer that the profit that we take in every time from it is smaller, but they are reoccurring 3 times a week and have signed up for a 6-month minimum. Right. So I'm going to pay more for that, knowing down the line I'm getting more. There are platforms that we've used in the past where we've put a lot into it and haven't seen the return. And so knowing, yeah, it does take some time to get that going. You can't just quit after a week or two. It has to run for a month, maybe two. But if after 6, 8 weeks, I'm really not seeing any sort of hope or progress on those returns, then I have to move on to something different. So it kind of depends, honestly. Obviously, I want to put in and get out more than what I'm putting in. So it's a give or take. Thumbtack, like I mentioned, has been a really good upside for us, despite some of the changes that they've had as a platform. That's continued to serve us well. Angie's List was something that we tried in the very beginning that just didn't work for us locally, and that's okay. Looking for yard sign and door hanger distributors. I have found one now that, I can get stuff on the really low end, and it has served really well for us, especially during the holiday season.
Earlier, you mentioned a partnership with a local carpet cleaning business. Do you do any networking events or network with any other businesses besides that carpet cleaning one?
Yeah, it's something that we're certainly starting to do more of in the last few months. Looking at property management companies where we are not the sole cleaners on staff, but one of a few. So anytime that they have a rental turnover or apartment unit that needs to be cleaned out, being on their list has been really positive for us. We are starting to work with a couple local realtors. So again, while we may not be the sole person if they have multiple listings that even just need touched up after open houses, right? And getting in and getting the floors done again before they have another showing later on that week. That's been serving us really well, I would say. Picking your niches, trying to attack those first before then you just completely open the floodgates and reaching out to anybody and everybody, because there's a lot, right, in any city. There's a lot of areas that you could tackle from a cleaning perspective. And so finding the few that work and then attacking those as much as you can.
Customer loyalty, huge to get that recurring business and generate that revenue that you see on a consistent basis. What do you do to enhance your customer loyalty and make sure, we're getting these one times turn into recurrings?
I would say providing a good service up front, right? Anybody who's looking for a one-time deep clean, I always follow up on afterwards. If they're looking for something reoccurring, even if it's not something that they mentioned when they originally booked with us, right? They obviously have an interest in their space being cleaned. So following up with those customers afterwards, I can't follow up with everybody. I just don't have the time in the day to do that. I did in the beginning, and that did get me a good reoccurring base. But also having open lines of communication with the customer as well, I think is important. I do get text messages at 7 o'clock at night from an Airbnb host who's, you know, last minute booking and they need a cleaner. And so being able to respond to that, where, if I don't have those lines of communication open and I'm not responding to them in a timely manner, they may have to move on to somebody else as well.
Social media, you said you run some ads. How big is that in, your marketing efforts besides the ads?
Mhm.
Do you run promos or anything through social media, or is it more so email lists?
Yeah, social media wise, we always have a first time customer promo. So it's 25% off their first clean just to get somebody in the door, right? And catch their attention. I would say a lot of the time with ads, unless you're doing a very, very heavy push, it's mostly just brand awareness, right? It takes a consumer on average 6 to 7 times to see either a service or a product before they go ahead and purchase it, whatever it may be. And so making sure that our name is out there in whatever capacity that may be, because when they do come time to need a clean before a holiday or a kid's birthday party, I want Valley Cleaners to be at the top of the list and a name that they recognize locally, regardless of where they've heard it from, so that when they are looking for that service, we're at least going to be in the mix. Because I can talk to a customer, hear them out, cater our clean to what they need the best I can, try to compete on price, right? But if I'm not given that opportunity, then I've already lost.
Managing growth is at the forefront of every business owner and making sure you stay open, right? So, what's your strategy for managing growth, maintaining it, and making sure it just snowballs?
Yeah, I mean, managing it, I would say our inquiries are there. So it's just having the staff to fulfill it. So again, it goes back to that balancing game of bringing a cleaner on and having work for them, but then not turning away work because I don't have a cleaner. So, like I mentioned, always open to referrals that are coming across my desk. I do go back and look at past Indeed applicants to see, okay, who did I not hire but were in my top 4 or 5? And can I go back to them? Are they still looking for work? Or are they open to maybe a slightly different opportunity with us until a new position grows? And sometimes that is just somebody looking for part time work and I'm able to fulfill that. And maybe that person just stays part time and that's great. They have their 3 days a week and I'm able to fill their schedule. And that's allowed me to grow, right? And bring on those customers that maybe I wouldn't have previously.
Customer complaints happen, issues. It's in the nature of this business, right? It is a people business. How do you address those issues and complaints when you have an upset customer?
Again, it's completely hearing them out, right? While it may be the smallest minute detail that we missed, they may really care about it. And so making sure that I'm validating their feelings at the end of the day and recognizing, yeah, if that was my home, I may be a little upset that that was missed as well. So it's offering to come back and do it at no cost and sending my cleaner back as soon as they have a window in their schedule, or at the very beginning, it was being willing to go and do it myself because there wasn't time in people's schedules to do it in a timely manner that the customer wanted it done in. And sometimes it is providing a refund as much as you don't like sending money back out. Sometimes at the end of the day, people are fine doing it on their own, but don't want to, and so they're looking for the 20 or $30 back that maybe we upsell sold them and we didn't have time to get to it.
Sure. Going to the revenue and money side of things, do you know since March of 20, or I guess April, because you said you first started taking clients in April of 23, how much revenue have you done in total till today?
In total, we've crossed over 100 grand easily. I would say the first few months were very slow, right? Trying to get my feet under me a little bit. I was happy with the 20 cleans that we had because it made that I was making some kind of money. I had some kind of business going, and then it was just a matter of continuing that. But since then, yeah, we've done very well, especially with me trying to also balance a 9 to 5. This year we crossed 100, so that's been a big goal for me. It was just in this year alone getting over that mark. And also a big goal for me this year was making sure that I had a good grip on our finances and making sure that I understood everything and I could look at all the different ways that we're spending money and really trying to optimize those. While yes, I've never had a month where I've lost money, which is something that I'm very proud of, there have been months where it's been slim, especially at the beginning, right? You're putting a lot of money to get your business out there. And so making sure that I'm seeing that return, especially moving forward as I'm trying different avenues and cutting them off if I'm not seeing something, it is a money game a little bit. You have to be able to spend money to make money, but making sure that whatever I am putting it into, that we are seeing the results I need to see.
So this year you've already crossed 100.
Hmm.
So in 23, do you remember what you did that year from April till December?
Gosh, I could pull it up right now if I wanted to. Yeah, let me grab it. It's on a very, very badly put together spreadsheet because that's what I had it on in the beginning, and I've kept it just because it's funny to look back on, but it was not pretty. I will do take home after taxes, after all of our expenses, what were we left with? First year was just under 15.
Okay. So after taxes and paying out all the cleaners, would you say 30, 40-ish
Yeah,
gross? Okay. What about 24? Next, your
24.
first calendar year.
First calendar year, we were sitting around the 80, 85 mark.
Okay.
And with kind of what had happened in February, that trickled into March and didn't provide a whole lot of growth at the beginning of the year, which obviously had me a little worried that, how long is this going on and what do I need to do to ensure that this doesn't trickle into another month? So those months, I mean, we were under $500. And it was just keeping the business afloat because I did lose a lot of business from not having cleaners being able to fulfill those schedules. So that was hard to see, but the rest of the year, I would say after starting mid-April, we truly picked up, and that growth then has now obviously carried us into where we are now.
So safe to say you're all in from the beginning till now, pushing 250 or
Yeah.
right around there. Awesome. That's great. What do you think you're going to finish this year off with?
I would really like in the next, month almost, based on what we have on our books and some availability that I know that we have, I would love to be able to add another 14 grand to the end of the year and finish that out strong.
So push 120.
120, yeah,
Okay. Well, we hope to see it for you. We know that the holidays leading up to the holidays gets busy,
it does.
and then after it slows down quite a bit, but it's definitely doable. Besides revenue, what metrics do you track to measure your success?
Yeah, outside of Avenue, I would definitely say ad spend. If I can spend X amount and gain 3, 4, 5 times that, I'm obviously looking at what I'm putting in and what I'm getting. So that's a really big metric for me. I'm also looking at how we're pricing ourselves for the consumer. We do have, entry level set pricing and then build off of that depending on what they're wanting. And so I'm looking at what we're charging, how long that takes our cleaners necessarily on average, and then what's my profitability within that alone. Because as soon as those margins start getting smaller, to nobody's fault of their own, right? The cleaner has to do their due diligence and it takes them as long as it may take them, especially in some of these campus houses. I will say they are some of the hardest cleans that we have done to date.
Sure. How would you they're not clean.
They're not clean. I will say that up front. Not clean, and there's a lot that goes on those floors, and so it's, cleaning up a lot of spilled drinks
Yep.
and a variety of
Whatever
different
else.
things. Exactly. I probably don't wanna know.
Yep.
So it's being able to price those stuff out accordingly and making sure that I'm, 1, building in time for the cleaner to be at that space, and also that we're earning money at the end of the day.
Being in marketing has helped your dad also being a big financial guy your entire life has also helped you pave the way. What's your approach to financial management and planning for 6 months, a year, 2 years out?
Yeah, always having a reserve, right? If something happens in our business, I still at the end of the day have to pay the cleaners. And so making sure that we have the funds to do so while also not hurting us financially. So having a good reserve is something that I've been trying to build from the very beginning. Obviously, setting aside money for taxes, while you can almost kind of predict what those are going to be, sometimes it's a little variable. So having flexibility in that, and then just making sure that we have the money to go out into our community and, 1, be building relationships, whether it's sponsorships or partners on events. Ad spend obviously is a huge one. And so I never want us to run dry and not be able to participate in some of those things that come across our table just because we don't have the money to do so.
And where do you see the business in the next 5 to 10 years? I know you said that you ultimately want to be stay at home and let the 9 to 5 kind of go to the wayside. What about the cleaning service?
I don't see us expanding territory-wise much past where we are now. I feel like we have a good service area where there's plenty of potential. So I don't feel like we need to go past where we are now. There's plenty of potential where we're at, partnering with real estate agents, cleaning small commercial spaces like offices and dental offices and things like that. So really tapping into all of the different areas that we can clean. Everybody needs a clean to some extent, regardless of what that is. So I don't want to cast our net too wide, in only order to just say, "Oh, I have this vast of territory. We clean all over the valley," but maybe having our customers so spread out, because at the end of the day, that's not good for our cleaners either. So I want to capitalize on our area and gain as much market share as we can.
That's huge. I know that there are people in the space that can get a little overzealous and want to expand as quickly as possible in service area, but I truly believe that having your a good solid base foundation for the service area and then maximizing that and then staying there and then just offering a little, another service and another product to potentially give to your already recurring user base is that much easier than, all right, I'm expanding. Now I got to hire. Now I got to
Mhm.
market, lose a cleaner, cut down the marketing, and just a little bit of a headache there.
Yeah.
Going into the software side of things, how big a role does tech play in your day to day?
I mean, Booking Koala is, I would say, 1, the only platform I looked at when starting this business. It came very well recommended from all of the different people that I was following and gaining insight from when I was looking to start this business. And then once I started using it, it was so user friendly that I really didn't have a need to look elsewhere. I would say the price point, especially for me jumping into this business, it wasn't this high ticket software that put me in the negative for months to come while I was still growing out my book of business. So it was very user friendly. Our cleaners love it. It's easy for them to use as well on their standpoint, from uploading media to clocking in and out, seeing their schedule, any notes. I don't want to pick a platform that's hard to use, right? That doesn't serve anybody by any means. So Booking Koala, from a platform perspective, yeah, has definitely been my number one. We use Stripe for our payment processor. So that just allows us, from the fee standpoint, doesn't charge us as much as other platforms do. And again, it's easier for our cleaners to use as well. Obviously, the consumers don't really see that side of it, so they're pretty unaffected by whatever we may use. But it's easy for the cleaner as well.
And how long have you been a customer of Booking Wall? Is it since
From the
day
beginning,
one you started and you went in? Okay.
that was one of the first things I did that week was make sure that I had filed for my LLC and signed up for a platform where I could even book a clean to begin with.
What besides recommendations in groups, what kind of drew you into using it, before even signing up, hitting, the plan page and looking through the features? What was the draw there?
Like from a feature standpoint.
Like features, I guess you already kind of said price, didn't break the bank.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess now feature side of it.
Yeah, feature side, knowing that eventually I was going to be going up in the plans that Booking Koala offers. I did like that there were marketing components already integrated in it. It just made it easy to have my data in one spot and able to utilize it rather than exporting it out elsewhere, also paying for another platform to do it, right? Within those marketing features that you do offer, there is flexibility for some customization, whether it be on the email forms that we're sending out and things like that. So that was intriguing for me. It's nice to be able to have those text message reminders go out to our customers. Some of them don't check emails at all. So they will message us, I didn't know you were coming today. And in my head, I'm like, we always send you an email before we arrive, but maybe they just didn't see it and they got their weeks mixed up. So knowing ahead of time that I was going to have those capabilities now is serving me really well as we've continued to grow.
Staying on the features, what's one feature that you couldn't live without?
Gosh, I would say now, honestly, it is those marketing components. While, yes, I could go find them elsewhere, I don't want to have 8, 9, 10 different platforms that I'm on all the time. It's nice to have it integrated in one. So if Booking Quality didn't have the marketing stuff anymore, or for some reason it went away, I would be really bummed out.
Flip side to that, what's something that you want to see added that currently isn't there?
Honestly, not a whole lot comes to mind. I think while yes, could take this business in a variety of directions and deck it out with all of the bells and whistles. I like to keep things a little more simple and just run a business. And yeah, we could be really flashy with things, but some of those softwares, who am I going to flash it to, right? Like I'm not going to anybody saying, "Ooh, look at this platform that I'm using. It does X, Y, and Z." At the end of the day, the consumer wants what they want. The cleaner wants a good schedule and flexibility in their own lives, and I want to make money. So what I have now does that for me. And yeah, is there a time down the line where I may want something else? Yes, but I have everything I need right now to run my business.
I guess final question now, something that is not software related, not business related, more life related. If you could go back in time and talk to 10-year-old Molly, what advice are you giving her?
Just to follow my intuition and my dreams, I would say I never expected to be where I am now. Even 8, 10 years ago, in college, I thought I had one idea of what I wanted to do, and I was very happy and content with it. And I still would be if I had to revert back to it, but not being scared to take those leap of faiths and having confidence in myself as well, right? A lot of people have instilled that confidence in me. I can't say I just got here on my own, but if I didn't take those leaps and strides and have faith in myself that I may fail and I will have to be okay with that, but what if I don't? It's those what ifs and those possibilities that have continued to drive me forward and pushing my life in a space where I never expected it to be.
Molly, I truly appreciate your time today, taking it out of your incredibly busy schedule, and sharing your story with everyone and doing a little bit differently with no coaches, full time 9 to 5, recently married. It's wonderful to see that, it can be done a variety of different ways, and you're a testament to that. So again, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And everyone watching, thank you for another episode. We'll see you next time.